Right, okay. So my 30 years of flying, I'm going to put in something about my history and motivations and kind of interests and stuff like that, because it ties in with the flying. Yeah, so anyway, you've got to go back a long way anyway, because I'm 71 now. And I started flying, well, I got involved with flying in 1974, but very briefly, as you'll see. Right, so let's go back. Oops, no, sorry, that's the right one. That's probably a bit too far, don't you think? I'll go forward now a little bit more. Now this gives you a little bit more information. I was absolutely fascinated by flight. This is me aged about 15, and I think there's about 5 gliders in there, and I did used to get through gliders at quite a quick rate. They didn't survive my flying very often, very well, and yeah, I was obsessed with it. And so when I was quite academic at school and did well, and I thought, well, I'll do aeronautical engineering. And sadly, I found that as I was going through university, I thought I was going to be an academic and an intellectual, and I discovered something else, climbing. And that's actually what I realized what I really wanted to do, was have adventure, travel, excitement, different situations. I didn't want to be sitting in an office. I wanted something, a bit more than that. And my first encounter, this was in 1974, with, this actually is taken from Chris Jones' photos. I didn't take photos of the actual event, but it's very much like this. My friends had built a Regolo, and as I finished my university time, we went out to the edge of the Pennines, and they hauled this flipping thing up there, heavy, and ran down, and the hill was like this, and the glide angle was just a little bit better, And I was not impressed at all. I mean, it sounded great because I was interested in flying, but this was more like battering the air to submission than actual really flying. Anyway, so I wasn't impressed at all. But let's have a look. Yeah, this is what impressed me. And I was really big into making things, as you could see with the models. And when it came to the end of university, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I went to a job fair. And I'd never heard of this company before. But it was the only job I applied for. And it turns out it was the highest paid job from university, before all financial jobs came in. And basically, when I started talking about travel, adventure, being practical with my hands and everything, that's what they wanted. Because if you're offshore, putting equipment down holes, which is what I used to do, and you had to be able to kind of sort yourself out. You couldn't just say, oh, it's not working. You had to do something and to get things to work. Anyway, that was great. Sent me off to Sumatra for training. I went up to Taiwan, worked there. None of this is to do with flying, but it links later on. And anyway, yeah, so that's it. And I put that in for Alex. You've seen that picture before, haven't you? This is me hanging in the Bay of Bengal, offshore Bangladesh. I was working out of Singapore, and I was just a bit mad in those days. I was 80 foot above the sea. If I'd have dropped in, firstly, 80 foot probably would kill you anyway. But even if it didn't, the sea was full of barracuda, and I wouldn't have lasted more than about a minute. So, but luckily I hooked my, I was strong, fit and daft. And yeah, I pulled myself out of that. I just put, Alex, you've seen that one before, haven't you?
I don't think so.
Yes, you have.
Oh,
Anyway, so now I got sent to Saudi Arabia, quit, and then thought, oh, I'll go to Japan and teach English. And I met my wife, Mickey. We have our 45th wedding anniversary coming up. So she's lived in England for a long time now. And Sapporo in the north, I went there for the skiing. And in traveling around there, I saw this thing coming out of the sky. And it was a hang glider, and it was flying. And I thought, wow, that looks interesting. And whereas up to that point, like I say, the flipping Golo wings, no interest at all. And I just thought, as soon as I saw that, I said, I'm going to do that. And I went back to England, started working on oil rigs again, and got myself a training course on a hang glider. And basically didn't look back from there, although the first flight I had on, after finishing my training, I bought a Midas Super E, which you've heard of.
I've heard of one.
You've heard of one.
I'm waiting for the point where our colours overlap.
Okay. Okay. Right. It was a glider like this, and basically you've got, it's nothing like a modern glider. This one here has got these sticky out little bits of tube, and then cables coming from here to here. Mine had 3 cables on each side, and I mean, 2 liners are so quick because they have no drag. This had huge amounts of drag on it, and the tubes were really exposed as well. And they flew okay, but they had a lot more to go. And this is on Pandy. So again, it's from Chris Jones's stuff. And I remember I was dead keen to go cross country. I couldn't see any point of flying and then just landing back where you took off from. And my first cross country flight, I've been reading all this stuff about air going up like this in flat bottom clouds and all this kind of stuff. I donated my original book to the library, but it's still just as relevant anyway. I remember going along Pandy and seeing this big cloud coming in, and I flew off out there, and then suddenly I'm going up, I'm going, oh, this is fantastic, this is great. Then I got to cloud base and I can't see anything. I don't know which is up and which is down. I really shout my pants. And so I remember here in my brain, where what's it? The Ride of the Valkyries, isn't it? Yeah, that was going on in my head. But I'm scared. Anyway, I came out of it halfway to Abergavenny somewhere. I can't remember, but it really impressed me. But it also scared the living crap out of me. Anyway, the gliders have come on so much. This is one. It just shows better. This stupid idea of having a cable going along here, and like I say, it had 3 on it there, and this exposed cross tube, and the gliders flew, but not that brilliantly. Anyway, right. So now just another Pandy shot there, and the one on the right is a Chargus Vertex, which I saw that, and have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
A Chargus Vertex. I'm sure it is, isn't it? It is.
It's a griffin, isn't it?
Yeah, it probably is. Yes, it is actually.
It's a griffin.
With the sticky out tube,
Yeah,
and then
sticky out tube. Yeah.
That's a griffin. You're right. Right. Anyway, now this was a really good thing because I had a Vario. My first Vario, you had to set the 0, and it was really, really bad because if you didn't set it nicely, you'd be taking off and you wouldn't be losing height, but it wouldn't be buzzing. It wouldn't be going beep beep. But if you set it the other way, you'd get loads and loads of lift and you'd never go up. It was really, really bad. And I brought in my first really good Vario, which was a Lindsay Ruddock 3. Rather dated, yes, I know. But they're all based on pressure sensors, what do you call it? I think they came from the Bosch engine management systems, and that's why these worked so well. You could just switch them on, and they just went ding, back to 0, and then beep, beep, beep when you went up. Exactly what you'd expect. But it wasn't the case when I started at all. Anyway, so if I did a bit of soldering on it, it would still work. Yeah. So, but anyway, I'm past that. So anyway, I upgraded my glider to a thing called a Cherokee, And it was actually Bob Calvert. I skipped over that. He was one of the big heroes at the time. You know, he was one of the first people to do 100 miles. I remember reading about him doing seven miles. Wow, that was big. And then 20 miles. Wow, that was big. And you know, the super pilots were starting to do really big flights. And I got this second hand from him, but it had a tendency to tip stall. And I was flying on Ubley, and I was kind of low, and I'm just trying to turn in tight. And suddenly, I'll straighten up. Oh no, I won't. And I just tip stalled and landed in the trees at the top. And I looked down and I thought, oh, I must be about 30 feet up. And then I climbed out, you know, because obviously climbing is a big part of my life and everything. And shimmied down the tree, and I went down about 30 feet, and I thought, probably still 60 feet up. Now, and anyway, it was easy enough. We got some ropes, and we unbolted the glider and got it out, and it wasn't any the worse for wear. So, but I did some early XCs on that. But
61 pounds.
61?
It says it weighs 61 pounds. Is that right?
Did it?
Down, yeah, at the bottom right-hand corner.
Oh God!
That's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. Well, an awful lot of people have had. Dave Draper, he was one of the guys who did lots and lots of stuff, and his wife, I think she got killed in a gliding accident in a K Draper, I think it was. I think that's right. That's right. But anyway, a lot of people had problems with their backs because carrying them up a hill was a real problem because they were heavy. You know, so yeah, I don't think that was a particularly heavy one either. So anyway, right, good. Yeah. So now, Bristol Airport and my relation to its airspace. Right, I'll have to show you. Right, this is where Bristol Airport is. Now, when I did this flight, this is what's it called? Crook Peak. Crook Peak, and basically flew towards Bristol Airport. At the time, it only had the smallest kind of radius around it, which was it half a mile or something like that? That's all it had, and so I was perfectly well out of the airspace. But there was a jet coming in, yeah, a proper passenger jet coming in. And I remember being, you know, probably 1,500 feet off the ground or something like that. And this jet came past like that, you know, not that far away. And I thought, well, I'll go in this direction because I'm outside the airspace. And I finished up in Portishead. And shortly after that, they increased the airspace. Seriously, it was. Bristol Airport just literally had a circle like this around it. And then it sprouted bits, you know, approach things. There's no way we should be flying anywhere near aircraft coming into land. And actually, on this side here, I remember another time coming down from Leckhampton, and I was outside airspace. This was later on when we had better navigation stuff. And I was outside of airspace. And then suddenly I see, oh, just down there, oh, there's Mr. EasyJet going in. And again, after that, they actually increased the airspace, as they should have. There's no way we should be going anywhere close to aircraft.
Exeter's like that currently.
Yes, I know.
About to do a massive grab of airspace, it appears.
Yeah, well, they should do. And I remember speaking in a safety meeting with and they had Exeter air controllers there. And I said, well, sometimes we come along here and we might be at 5,000 feet from Ubley, passing a bit north from Exeter. And they said, oh, we take planes off there, and then we'll take them up like this, and they'll be doing about 5,000 feet when it's still like that. Yeah. So anyway. As you say, they're going to increase it, and hopefully they do it sensibly. But anyway.
Chad, what year was all this in?
Oh, this mid-80s.
Mid-80s?
Mid-80s, yeah. Yeah, so it spreads through there. There's, you know, that time. Mid-80s is probably...
You were in Bristol then?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Were you a member of the Avon Club?
Yes, I was chairman at one
You
point.
were the Avon, yeah. So how many members were in the Avon Club then, in the
I
mid-80s?
can't remember. 60, 70, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so... Anyway, right, so now we start to get onto modern hang gliders now. This is... You can't see the... There's certainly no wires here, and you can't see the cross tubes, they're all concealed, and that's... Yeah, they really started to go up. The performance was better, and people were getting better at flying them. That's right. This wave of cross country just got bonkers. And this is not a scientific graph, by the way. but it kind of indicates what exactly was happening. Because lots of people were doing, 100 miles. But I did loads of flights over 50 miles, loads, and
Ken, can you comment on why they measured hang glider flights in miles and paraglider flights in kilometres?
No, I have no idea. Just what we did. I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's what we did. Anyway, so I got invited to the XC League, which was invite only. If you'd done some good cross countries, yeah. No mobiles, obviously. The main thing was having a pocket full of 10p's and 20p's, I think. That's what you used to put in the phone, as I remember, and a list of numbers. And very often it was you just made your own way back, hitching back, which I've never had a problem with. Yeah, but yeah. So I got kind of like helped out by Solar Wings. They weren't the best wing, but I was doing good cross countries, and they, that was good for them. So anyway, so this is still my longest flight in the UK. This was from a cross country league task. Basically, we were told to. This is weather fell, and we had no navigation really, but we're just going downwind. There was a navigation point along here because I've got the map, but reading the map and actually trying to work out actually what you're looking at, unless it's really obvious, is difficult. This is York, okay? I flew over York, and it was just another town at the time, except it has a bloody great cathedral in there, and it had burnt down, and that allowed me to date when my flight was. I think it burnt down in 1984. I think one of the huge great towers of it burnt down, and I thought that must be York. And so I just continued down there and then landed here at Spurn Point, and along with 3 others, and they we telephoned up, and the organisers sent down a camper van, and we got back in the middle of the night. Some people went on. They crossed the Humber estuary here and went down to Skegness. So yeah, I finished 7th in that, but that was pretty good. Amazing flight. Oh yeah, yeah. And Mickey had come to the competition. That's my wife. Yeah, come to the competition with me, and she was a bit annoyed because anyway, she didn't come to that many competitions after that, except the ones in France. Anyway, yeah. So this is another one now that was pretty memorable as well. It was Corndon down to, and I landed on the Portway here. And that was very memorable, not on the Portway, but on a cricket pitch by the side of it, a mile from my house, which was great. But I do remember crossing this bridge. This one didn't exist in those days. So I remember crossing this bridge at about 4,500 feet and looking down. I'm looking down at the other side like that, and I've got a tailwind. Am I going to land in the water? Not a chance, not even a slight chance. But I was still shitting my pants. Anyway, so this up-and-coming pilot, Bruce Goldsmith was, we did quite a bit of flying. In fact, when he did his first cross-country, he rang me up because it was me and this other guy called Mark who were battling out to do the biggest cross-countries. And Bruce suddenly came past and went stratospheric, whereas this guy Mark and me were comparatively less skilled, shall we say. Right, and apparently, what was it, what's his name? Wes, he flew from here and he got down here somewhere and he was wanting to go along and he said I was following the kind of chat, oh, what's the record here? He said, oh, it's Ken Wilkinson, 125k. Oh, and it's still in the Longmynd records as being the longest flight. But it does say that plenty of other people have probably gone further, which is true. Anyway, that was a good one. So, yeah. Now, this is stuff of legend, this is. The guy, Mark, who I was competing against, he is well reputed to have flown somewhere from Newport, picking up a thermal at 2,000 feet and taking it up and crossing, and it's 8 miles across there. And I was scared shitless going along there. And I was already high, and he wasn't high, and he took it up, and I think that's mad, but it's well reputed that he did that, and he's an incredibly good pilot. So, he's basically won the World X contest several times. 250k triangles. He's on an Atos VR now, and he's a real hard nut. Definitely. So, anyway, this is my brilliant flying career. Well, 4 days, yeah. Anyway, so this is Lorania. Lorania is the town, and then this is Chabray. And they set a competition. Oh, yeah, I forgot to say why I was doing that competition. I got invited to the National A because basically at the time the Brits were the best pilots. There was John Pendry, he won the World Championship twice. There was Robbie Whittle, he won the World Champs. Were dominant in competitions, and the French were crap. The thinking was that basically we were used to flying light lift. They didn't consider lift until it got to 2 meters a second, because that was the thinking anyway. But I think there just happened to be some really talented pilots there around at the time. But anyway, they said, oh yeah, this guy's doing the British League. We want to see what he does anyway. So the first day, I remember we took off here and I just got really high really quickly. Had to go up, who's flown at Lorania? Or loads of people, yeah. This is the airport on the top of the hill. Asp. Is it Asp? Yeah, I think. Yeah. Anyway, the thing is, I just flew up there, took the pictures, because we had to take pictures at the time, and then came over here. And I thought, where is everybody? Came over here, boom, 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 got back in and landed. And they said, oh, great. And I was thinking, where's everybody else then? I was thinking I must have done something wrong. And about half an hour, people started to dribble in. And it turns out, oh, you've won it. Oh, great, fantastic. This is my brilliant flying career. Only 4 days. and anyway, but I was incredibly lucky because when they developed the film that night, somebody made a mess up with the chemicals and they got blurred pictures. And they said, okay, we're going to have to take everything on honesty because, we have no choice. But then they came up to me and said, actually, have a look at your camera. And I looked at it, and the little bits of light stuff that it's supposed to keep the light out of the camera. One of them had fallen off, And so all of my pictures were completely exposed. And if they hadn't screwed that up, all of that wouldn't have happened. Well, effectively it wouldn't have happened. Anyway, so there are quite a few issues with taking pictures with cameras. First of all, after that I flew with 2 cameras, which doubles the trouble. Because not only you've got to steer the flipping hang glider. And if you say in the mountains and there's a turn point there, you're trying to fly with one hand, It really was like that. I'm not kidding. It's absolutely appalling. And then you've got this camera dangling over your front bar, and you better not get it tangled up over the control bar. What do you call it? The bottom bar.
Base bar. Base bar.
Base bar. It's so long since I... Yeah, okay. Anyway, so you don't know how lucky you've got it with all this GPS and beep, yep, next turn point, thank you. Dead easy. It was really horrific flying with those things. And there's somebody called Jess Flynn. He was one of the top pilots as well. And he was in the European Championships. And so there he is, he's in his turn point, and he takes his camera off like that. And the front of the camera's there, and the base of the camera's still stuck to the Velcro. That was the end of it. Honestly, you don't know what yeah. We're so lucky these days. So anyway, I was I won that task. Not that task. I won that league. I didn't win any more. I did reasonably well enough that my overall points meant I was designated as a vainqueur, a complete vainqueur. Monsieur Wilkinson, you are total vainqueur. Anyway, here's a question. What's wanker in French, really? Branleur. Huh? Branleur. Ah, good. Very good. I didn't think anyone would know that. Anyway, so we've now finished with my brilliant career. So, right. Yeah, typical French. That one's for finish. I finished 5th overall. So, yeah, that was all right. Anyway. Now, I'm not sure about how true this is. But, well, this is Chamonix, right? That's definitely true. And then the takeoff is somewhere here. Now, intermittently, we lived. Mickey and myself have lived in Chamonix for skiing and for ski touring. And when I was flying in the early days, I took off from there. Right. Let's have. Most people have been to Chamonix. Familiar? Or many have, anyway. Anyway, there's Chamonix. That's the Aiguille de Dreux. And then over here, there's Aiguille de Midi on the other side. Anyway, and Mont Blanc's somewhere over here.
Is that taken from the Breville?
Huh?
Is that the Breville?
Yeah, it's a stock picture I got off it. I haven't got any decent pictures myself.
Northwest, then?
Well, yes. Yeah. Northeast. Northeast, yeah, I think, yeah. Anyway, so Chamonix down here, Telefric goes up to here, and then there's a station to change here, and then you go up to there. So what I did, I actually flew from this side, and then later in the afternoon, the sun comes on here, and I flew there, and I finished up flying all the way over up to the Aiguille de Midi. And that's in fact the planned aiguille. This is the Telefric station that then goes up to the Aiguille de Midi. And sometimes we used to fly there in the evening. Right, and anyway, again, this is just a stock picture. But I flew up here and I flew over the top of this. And I remember there was a load of Oriental people up there. Now, Oriental people these days, when you see them tourism, it's normally Chinese people. But these were Japanese at that time. The Japanese haven't got any money now. And anyway, so I flew over the top of it and I yelled out, because I spoke Japanese mostly with my wife at that time. Så kanske jag hittar kolla det, ni har inte det, jag menar, oj, det är and like this. I'm sure some of them must have suspected did someone drop some LSD in my tea in the morning? Anyway, so I flew around here.
What does that mean, Ken? I don't speak Japanese.
No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. This is amazing scenery. So many mountains. Something I said, I can't remember what I said. It's 40 flipping years ago, but I yelled something out, and it definitely got a response. So anyway, and from there I just flew along, and I actually have a photo. This is actually taken on this flight when I was gliding away. I don't know why I didn't take one at the top. Here's the wires, and it's a terrible photo. And anyway, yeah, and there was a prize.
Isn't that Grand Giraffes?
Huh?
That's Grand Giraffes in fact, isn't it?
Yes, it might well be. Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I've not particularly bothered to. I thought this was the Drew.
No, that's
Oh, that's the Grand Giraffes.
Drew is
Yeah. It's so fuzzy, it's difficult to say. But anyway, later I found out that I think I might have been the first person to ever do that. But there was a prize for it. Someone had donated 12 bottles of champagne for the first person to fly over. But are they ever going to give that to an English person? I don't know. I mean, I only had intermittent contact with the locals anyway, so. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, right. Now what's this? Now first of all, you have to identify. Does anyone drive a car like that anymore? No. Crappy old 40-year-old cars. That's my camper van, and it's white, so I know this is about 1980 or 81 or something like that. And we lived in a flat at the time, and I'd built we had a 2-bedroom flat, this Mickey and me, and we had quite a small room, and I decided to make a trike. And I'd seen pictures, and I had lots of aluminium from a friend who gave me his old Rogolo wing. Nice heavy tubing with thick walls, and so I used a lot of that. I bought a big sheet of aluminium to cut lots of brackets and things like that. And I constructed I had a 250cc engine, and I made a 2-to-1 reduction thing for it, and I bought some propellers, 54-inch propellers from America, and I was working on this quite manically, and I eventually got to the point where, it's ready to go, it's ready to go. I could put some petrol in, so I put some petrol in, and I thought, I'll just give it. This is in a small room, by the way. And I made sure it wasn't going to go anywhere. And so it started, wow, this is amazing, And I was just on tick over. And wind was blowing around, like this. And I thought, I've just got to give it a little blip like this. So I went, a tiny little blip, and this big sheet of aluminium just lifted off the wall in slow motion and just hit the propeller. I sent the results to Bryant and May Company. Think about it, Bryant and May. Matches. Anyway, right. Anyway, so there you go. It got in the air, as you can clearly see. Brean down, flat sand. Great, ideal for it. And it clearly got in the air. And I got to about 250 feet or something like that. And then there was an almighty bang. And the silencer, my eyeball engineering, which is all this was based on, evidently wasn't good enough. And you can see I'd welded that up myself. And I didn't have a MIG welder. I don't think they existed in those days. Anyway, it failed, and that was it. But it was a fantastic project to make. And if anyone wants any odd bits of aluminium, I've got loads. So Anyway, yeah, and anyway, I kind of thought afterwards, maybe I'm not that interested in this anymore. So I didn't, I never, you know, I basically binned the project. So yeah, anyway, Al Davis made one at the time. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong button I pressed. Al Davis made one at the time, and he used a little bit more engineering sense than me. It was all eyeball engineering. You can see all these brackets here and everything like that were all hand sawn and filed, all done with the Black & Decker workmate and the hacksaw basically. So anyway, it did fly. Right. Okay. Oh yeah. I only put this in last night because I did do one British team thing, but I think there were shorter people, and basically I did really badly in the competition. That was the end of it. So anyway, why did I give up flying after about 8 years of intensive flying? Well, the reason was, I remember I took off from somewhere, and I think it might have been 100 House or maybe Corndon. Did Corndon quite a bit, I remember. But anyway, this isn't the sky. I didn't take any photos, but it's exactly what the sky was like. It was a perfect sky, 6,000 foot cloud base, climbing up to the top, you know, and then going on to the next cloud, and it's fabulous flying. And I was just bored. I just thought, oh God. I remember quite distinctly thinking, I'm so bored of doing this now, because I've been doing lots and lots of it. And I was, most of the time I was thinking about, I remember quite distinctly, I'm going to be eating in the pub tonight. Shall I have fish and chips? Or shall I maybe they've got a special curry on or something. And I thought, it's time to do something different, you know. And so I just packed it in. Sorry, that's the wrong button. Oh yeah, I went back to climbing as I was bored. And seeing as it's always been climbing and flying, or a bit of both. And seeing as mentioning climbing, this is my best climbing shot ever. Anyone know where that is? You, Andy, you should know.
Yosemite.
It is Yosemite.
Is that the nose on El Cap?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's definitely the best. That's looking down from there. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that in, because if I'm mentioning climbing, I might as well show that. So, yeah, anyway. Oh yeah, what to do with all these redundant hang gliding bits, you know. Once you've had a hang glider for a few years, this has been in use for probably nearly 40 years. I've got a zoom in on it there. What is it?
VB, is it a VB thing?
Yeah, it's a VB, exactly. You know, basically that was on the bottom bar, and yeah, for tensioning up the
Yeah. Also appealed because you were a physics teacher.
Well, yeah. Well, it appealed. I mean, I made the thing that we hang clothes on. We've been hanging clothes on it for 40 years. As long as we've been in that house, it was one of the first things I put in. And it's never needed any maintenance at all. And it works fantastically. So.
They were engineered by about 100 factor.
Sorry?
They were engineered by about a factor of 100.
Probably right. Yeah. Anyway, I started, I was climbing, I had a good session of climbing, and again I started getting bored, and then Robin Brown taught me how to paraglide, and yeah, I never thought the paragliders would take over from hangies, but when I was doing the French competitions, they were saying, yeah, paragliders are definitely the way forward, and I was thinking, no. Anyway, my judgment never has been.
Paragliding really took off in early 90s.
Yeah.
Did it? Yeah?
I
Like you were flying then. Paragliding.
It was about 89. I did CP in 94.
That's what I saw was on comment. I saw some, when I was doing hang gliding, I saw someone taking off, probably about 92.
I first saw that in the Chamonix Valley in 90.
Yeah.
So
But-
why did you think paragliding looked good then, Ken?
Well, because, you know, carrying a glider up the hill
Yeah.
isn't hard. The portability, really, and the fact that you can, you know, hitchhike with it and everything. I've got a little bit about hitchhiking coming up anyway. So,
To get back in the air.
hmm?
You didn't want to get back in the air.
Yeah. I mean, I had quite a long break from it. And then I got bored with the climbing and I'm putting on a bit of weight. That really messes up your climbing. Anyway, and I just wanted, I thought that'd be good. And I just, now this isn't quite, you may have seen this one before. But anyway, it's actually, it should be a bit more like this. But because I know you were doing 100k flights at that point, weren't you?
I wasn't flying at that point.
Weren't you? Okay.
Where on that graph did you start flying then?
I think, what does the thickness of the line entail?
It's just I just googled, what was it, exponential growth, and that's what I came out with, which isn't exponential growth, but that's.
No.
Ken, was it upside down for climbing?
Yes, could well be. Anyway, that's just kind of. You were doing weren't you doing big flights then?
I didn't start flying until 97.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so my first season of properly flying, I think it's 2004 or something. The XC League only goes back to 2005. And I remember having a discussion with someone saying, I can't understand why people don't do bigger cross-country flights, you know, because I obviously had a lot of hang gliding flying. And then someone said, oh, let's see how you do. Well, I averaged over 60k on a fairly crappy B wing. But then I spent the next 4 or 5 years trying to get back to that again. I had a few miserable seasons. Anyway, I've won B class several times, and a job and a young son slowing me down. So right. Anyway, so and then we started to get these funny things called GPSs. This is a 76C. The first GPS I had was what was it? A Garmin 4, which was black and white. Anyway, did they ever have something that said distance from takeoff, Alex? Because well, you see, I don't think it did. But then I'm not very good at kind of programming these kind of things.
It didn't have that.
It didn't have that. So we had small screens, and so what I used to have was carry a little bit of card with me, and when I knew how, and I marked it off 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, and you put it down there. And, oh, I'm probably on about 85 now, and
You could press mark enter and it would put a position, ideally designed for a man overboard, and it would give you distance to a man overboard.
oh, would it?
Yeah.
So if you took off and then press.
The prequel to that, which was the 12, which had a tiny screen like that.
Yeah, that might be. It may have been a 12. I thought it was a 4.
Very square looking thing.
Yeah.
That one there is a piece of tech because it's got the C on it, which means colour.
Yes, I know. Oh no! Look again. I just Google searched and that came up, and I thought I used to have one of them. Anyway, so.
I've still got one. Mine's not the colour version. 76 something.
Yes, just a 76.
Yeah.
The C is the colour one.
That's
but-
a posh one. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but I presbyopia. Does anyone know presbyopia? Oh, from all my years of being a Presbyterian? Not true. The old ones are the best. Anyway, so I couldn't read my maps, and I remember doing one. I could see the airspace on the instrument, and I could see I was going into it, and this was Luton. Yeah, I think I'd flown from Malvern, and I know I was on 90k or 90 plus k, and because I'd used me a little bit of card, and I looked at my map and I couldn't see the numbers on the map, and I didn't know if it's 3,000 or 4,000, and I was up in this nice bit of lift going up like this, just steadily climbing, and I'm over 3,000 feet now, and I just didn't know if it was 3,000 or 4,000, so I just thought, well, I've got to land really, and I did. So, I mean, I lost several flights because of not being able to read the map, which was a bit annoying, but hey-ho. Anyway, this is my last really good bit, this is 2018, and this is sports class with Simon's filter. Yeah, this is so good because the XC League don't do this properly at all. And I came second in this, but I was on a B glider, and I was only how much? About 20 kilometres below Neil Firmage. There I was only, and you know, my worst flight was 124, which isn't too bad in a B class. In a B wing, yeah.
Well, he was on a C.
He's on a C, but I was trying to become top in the C class on a B.
Yeah.
And I missed it by 22k. So anyway, that was my last excellent bit. Anyway, yeah. So 22k I went from spinning, from winning sport class on a leisure class. I think it's a bit of a weird name, recreational or whatever. Anyway, so thanks to Simon for allowing that filter to take place. Anyway, where's that? You hint, you're unlikely to be flying there now. No. You should know, Tim.
What's that bridge?
Oh, that's Newport.
That's Newport.
The current on the far side is new, I recognise.
Yeah, yeah. I thought one of those was the transporter bridge, and I checked it out. That's round the corner. Anyway, yeah, that's Newport. But that's all in airspace now, and it didn't used to be. So, yeah, you're okay if you're above 4,000 feet. But anyway, yeah, I used to fly in trainers a lot. I don't know why. Anyway, BCC, yeah. So, I did it for a couple of years. Martin and Amy Stanton passed it on to me, and I did it for 7 years. One thing I was very aware of is the fact that there was no kind of written things, and in terms of like formalising what you're doing, and anyway, I set up a set of rules, and not rules, but you know, protocols, and there was an accident shortly after, and I was glad I'd set them up. Basically, we had the final at the Long Bind, and there was 2 fatalities, which isn't very nice for a competition you're running, especially seeing as you find out about it when you're 30 kilometres away. And but 2 gliders went into each other, and one guy died immediately, and the other guy died later on. And there was actually, just a minute, yeah, an inquest. They had an inquest with a judge and 12-person jury to test the evidence, I guess, to see, is this just a crazy sport? You know, should these people be stopped from doing this or something? They wanted to formally look at it, and actually it was fine. And I gave a briefing at the start of the competition. And, you know, be careful of airspace, you know, I went through all the usual things you go through for safety that Matt Tandy will be doing with the BCC at any time. Anyway, I asked advice from the BHPA. I said, could there be any liability for me? And they said, oh no, as long as you obey the FAI rules, it'll be fine. So I looked at the FAI rules, and the FAI rules for running a competition is there must be a ground-based meet director at all times. So I contacted the BHPA and said, well, hang on, I was 30 kilometres away. And oh, that's silly. That's silly. There's no way you can get an experienced pilot to run a competition like that. Nobody would do that, would they? And that was it. That was their response. But actually, if you do that in the continent, I know there's somebody in Italy who was running a competition, and he didn't follow the instructions of the rescue services, and he was put in prison. But anyway, as it was, there was no particular issue, and Rob was talking to
Yeah, I had a beer with both of them the night before.
yeah.
Yes, it was a guy called Steve Allen from the South East Wales Club and a guy called Dennis Ray, who was from the Derbyshire Soaring Club.
But in fact, what happened was most people had gone cross country at that point. They were left behind, and this guy Ray, he basically had a stroke or something. He'd had medical problems, and he was seen flying like this, looking back, not even looking slightly where he was going, in a really strange position. He was having a stroke or something, and he flew into the guy, and that was it. So it was just sad, really. Anyway, let's get on from that. Anyway, there's Professor Sir James Mallinson juggling multiple balls. Does that surprise you, Alex? Not at all. He's such a talented guy. Oxford professor. The Sir is honorific anyway. But anyway, mere bashers. I used to love them. They were absolutely great. And they just seem to have gone out of fashion, and I don't know why. Anyway.
Coming back into fashion, I think you'll find, Ken.
Well, exactly. A plug. But there was only me and Paul went to the last one. I've always liked hitchhiking, but this is the best hitchhike I've ever had in Roldanillo. Stuck my thumb out on the big roundabout on the edge of Roldanillo, where loads of people will try to get a lift. And this guy pulled over and took me right into the middle of town. The horse kept pulling over any time it went past a tree. It'd be heading in there to have a nibble, and then you get redirected, and that's it. And hitchhiking I've always enjoyed.
Ken, did you fly to Istanbul?
No.
That was a good cross country, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
No. That was when Mickey and me were travelling back from Japan. She'd never been to England, and we'd had a bit of a row in Istanbul, and she got on the train. Well, anyway, entirely her fault. Basically, she had never left Japan before, but I gave her my parents' address and said, just get to Sheffield, you'll be fine. She went on the trains. And she's a resourceful lass, And anyway, and I just hitchhiked from Istanbul to Sheffield as well, 6 days. It was great. I quite like that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When did you first start carrying a reserve parachute?
When?
When in your flying career?
Oh, right at the start. Yeah.
And have you thrown one in over?
Yes. When was that? That was, I flew into a dust devil in Gemona, and you were there, weren't you, Alex? So my wing just did that, and there was no came out, landed, took about that long. I was way up in the mountains, so.
And serious injuries?
None at all.
Amazing, yeah.
So I've never broken a bone. So I don't know why. I've hit the ground a lot. My landings are not very pretty, are they? So anyway, good. Yeah, that's it. All right. All right, cheers.